Control thermal pollution. It is essential to know that we can control thermal pollution. Many people do not realize this, but there are a few simple steps that can be taken to reduce the amount of heat that is given off from our consumption and production activities. For example, it would be helpful if we all turn down the temperature in our homes by 1 degree Fahrenheit when we're away or sleeping. This will help us reduce energy use and save money on utility bills. Control thermal pollution by controlling the population. Thermal pollution can be controlled by controlling the population. In order to reduce the risk of thermal pollution, we should first keep track of how much electricity is being consumed in a given day so that it doesn't exceed an average household's daily consumption, and set limits for industry production levels based on what they require rather than what they want or are able to produce. Thermal pollution is a global problem that has been going on for many years. However, we have the power to control it by controlling the population and finding alternative sources of energy while still remaining environmentally friendly. Control thermal pollution by controlling construction activities. One way to reduce the impact of thermal pollution is by controlling construction activities in areas that are vulnerable to contamination. The following passage introduces a potential solution to reducing the adverse effects on aquatic ecosystems caused by human-made structures like bridges, dams, and buildings, regulating construction activity near sensitive waterways such as marshes or lakes. This might be necessary because humans have been building these types of things since they first started using stone tools about 2 million years ago. It has literally always been an issue. With an increase in construction activities, there is a proportional rise in thermal pollution levels. By controlling these constructions, we can help to reduce this issue and keep the environment clean for everyone's enjoyment. Control thermal pollution by using eco-friendly products. The recent invention of eco-friendly products has made it possible to avoid the detrimental effects that thermal pollution can have on our environment. When you use these types of items, there are no toxic chemicals involved, and your contribution is significantly less than if you were using a typical product. You'll always be able to maintain an environmentally friendly lifestyle when you make this small change in what type of things go into your household. Thermal pollution is a significant problem for the environment, but it's not too late to help save our natural resources. By switching out all of your products and replacing them with eco-friendly ones, you can lower your carbon footprint without impacting on quality or performance in any way. This will also make sure that we don't poison ecosystems like rivers by releasing chemicals into our water supply via thermal oil leaks from power plants along waterways near these facilities, which have been found to be leading causes of ecological damage downstream as well as impairing their ability to support wildlife. So please do what you can. Control thermal pollution by cooling ponds. Scientists have come up with a solution to combat the thermal pollution problem. They found that cooling ponds can be used for this purpose, and they are already being put in place at power plants globally. Cooling ponds can be helpful in controlling thermal pollution. They work by decreasing the temperature of the water coming from a factory or power plant before it reaches natural waterways and causes damage to marine life, like fish. It's always a good idea to cool down before you make your way back home. These ponds are designed for just that, and they'll help keep the water clean by dissipating any heat energy carried in with storm runoff or industrial waste from nearby plants. Control thermal pollution by coal-fired power plants. Coal-fired power plants can reduce the amount of thermal pollution in nearby water bodies by implementing a number of changes to their operations. Thermal pollution is an issue that coal-fired power plants have been able to address with some success but requires careful monitoring and management as well. In recent years there has been progress made on this front, thanks mainly to new technologies for cooling towers that remove impurities like mercury from coal before they are burned into greenhouse gases. Coal-fired power plants are a significant source of pollution. As the technology for making coal clean has improved, these facilities have been able to reduce their emissions and become more environmentally friendly. Thermal pollution can be controlled by coal-fired power plants as the industry is now taking measures to fix its environmental catastrophes. Control thermal pollution by controlling domestic sewage. Domestic sewage is to blame for thermal pollution. If we can maintain the amount of domestic wastewater, then this issue will be lessened and will have a direct impact on climate change as well. A new study has shown that thermal pollution could be limited by controlling domestic sewage. This is because around 2/3 of all our wastewater goes untreated and ends up in rivers, streams or the ocean, where it releases harmful levels of ammonia into the environment, which leads to an increase in greenhouse gases like nitrous oxide. A recent report from the World Health Organization, WHO, says that there are opportunities to reduce environmental health risks such as those caused by global warming through better management of human excreta disposal, meaning lessening its negative impact on climate change while also preventing contamination with fecal matter and other pathogens. Control thermal pollution by education. Thermal pollution is a real problem in our water. Fortunately, there are ways to help prevent it, such as educating people about how they can reduce the amount of time they spend in hot pools and lakes this summer. Now's not too late for you to start making these small changes that have significant impacts. Education is the key to controlling thermal pollution. With an understanding of all the consequences, people will make better decisions in their lifestyles that can reduce and even eliminate this type of waste product from our water sources. Control thermal pollution. Control thermal pollution by recycling and reusing. The world currently produces a lot of garbage, and without recycling, we would quickly become buried in it. But there is good news for the environment. Thermal pollution can be controlled by recycling. Recycling and reusing are the best ways to combat thermal pollution. This can be done by collecting old clothes, toys, etc., from your friends or relatives for reuse rather than throwing them away, which would only end up in landfills. Our society can use the old sayings reduce, reuse and recycle to combat thermal pollution. The more we recycle our waste products into usable materials such as clothing or even petroleum by using them in different industrial processes like making plastic bottles from used oil containers, it will reduce the number of new stuff being manufactured, which is a significant cause for emissions coming out of power plants that are due to producing things at an accelerated pace with no concern about how they will be disposed of when their life cycle has come to a close and need recycling themselves. When you think about all the energy required so that people can have something shiny on top of their dresser instead of cluttered drawers full of clothes, doesn't seem worth it.